Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It has been a while since we talked about tools and brushes, and I've gotten a couple comments about what my favorite tools are, or like, hey, what brush is that? And I pretty much use the same brushes in every video. So today we're gonna round up my favorite brushes, and that is gonna be nice and easy because I keep, some of them are dirty, they're next to me, but I keep this portfolio. It collapses and closes in front of me at all times, which has, I think, 24 brushes in it, and these are my go-to everyday brushes. If you want to see what my favorites are, what I use them for, and how much I love them, make sure to keep on watching, and don't forget to subscribe because I upload every other day, and that'll be the best way to stay up to date on all the fun stuff I'm posting. So if you want to jump into my favorite brushes and tools with me, stay tuned. Because these keep falling, I'm going to start with the things that are not brushes. I have 4 of them. First, this is from Makeup Forever. It is just a powder puff. I love using this for retouch because a tiny bit of powder on here and it just takes down oiliness and shine. Super easy to just get a quick touch up, and I don't have to use a ton of product, so it's not going to get cakey. Like today I'm filming 4 videos. I don't want to have to touch up between every video, so a tiny bit of powder on a powder puff, just pressing it out will do the trick. Next, from DSMD Shop, this is an acrylic palette. Goes right over the back of your hand and you can apply nice and easy. I like to mix illuminating drops into my foundations on here, or many times I'll just, like today, I just put my tinted moisturizer on there so that I can pick up a thin layer before applying it so I don't have those dots of intense coverage, and it becomes a lot faster for blending that out. This is actually the DSMD Makeup Sponge. I'm a huge fan of these because they're a little softer and more porous than a beauty blender, but they have the flat side, and they're only like $7, so much less expensive, much more affordable than a beauty blender, which is like 21 nowadays, and definitely does a great job there. And the last non-brush is going to be from Surratt Beauty. This is the Reveille Lash Curler. I have been using this for 3 or 4 years now. I love that they sell the inserts individually so that you could just refresh, replace, and this is still hands down my favorite. Jumping into the brushes I used today, they are going to be right here. I am neurotic and basically wash my brushes after every 1 or 2 uses, so I keep this right here for what needs to be washed, and everything else lives in the portfolio. This is no longer available. It was a Sephora Pro product way back when, and I used to use this because it collapses on itself and keeps all of my brushes in one place, but it also folds over, and if you tighten it, it will stand straight up, and that's how I use it. Jumping into the brushes that I used today, I'm going to start off with this crusty dusty brush. This is the Morphe E4. This is hands down my favorite blush brush, and I don't know if it was just like mine has been like abused to the point where now it's perfect. I did get a brand new one like a year ago, and I still end up using this one because it just cups my cheek perfectly. This is my favorite blush brush, has been, like you can tell, look at all those dents on the handle from when I used to just tap blush off. Hands down my favorite blush brush. Next, from Sigma, this is the Spotlight Duster F37. I use this for under eye powder. Today I actually used it for bronzer just to sculpt the face because I wanted a little bit more, like I'm not wearing a ton of coverage. You can kind of see any freckles, beauty marks, and my skin through what I'm wearing. I wanted something super lightweight, so I didn't want like a dense bronzer brush. I wanted everything to be very airbrushed and very effortless, so I went in with a fluffier brush. Normally, this is what I'll use for my under eye and for just dusting powder all over the face. Nice and easy. To me, this is a universal brush that I use every day. From Ipsy's brand, this is Complex Culture. This is the Petite Powder Brush. Not too much to say about this. I love this for highlight because I can also wrap the brow and diffuse nicely. But even after I apply that, I always blend it out with my blush brush. So I don't have a lot to say about highlighter brushes. This is probably the highlight brush that rotates the most out of the brushes I have out here. For the other brushes I used today, this is the Sephora Collection Concealer Brush from their Match collection. I don't think it's still available, but I like that it is a angled paw foot concealer brush. I use this for my eyeshadow base, which I use a pot concealer every single time I do my makeup. This is the brush I use. And then I set it down with this Smashbox all over shadow brush because I can pat it and blend and buff. And I do that with a translucent setting powder to set down my lids. And then after I do my makeup, I tend to get creasing in the nose area. So because this is just used for translucent powder, I can just kind of go in, and anywhere where I feel like I need to buff a little bit more, I use this. I'm not going to talk too much about the Beauty For Real eye brushes because I've now mentioned them in like 6 videos, but these have become my favorite eye brushes. I used them today. I used 4 of the 5. The liner brush, I don't love angled liner brushes, so I don't use that one. For the lid shade, I use the Morphe X Jaclyn Hill JH41 just to pat pigment on. I have tried a million of these shader brushes, and this one just works the best. The one from Beauty For Real is a little bit thinner, so I prefer to use it for, like, I used today a liquid glitter that I patted in. This will work great with creams. I prefer this one for powders. For inner corner, this is the Delium Tools 755, really tiny spotlight brush. And then for my detail blending brush, this is a little baby pencil brush. This is the LR006 from LaRousse Beauty. This is the burgundy one that came in a BoxyCharm, but I love how this just fits right into the under eye, nice and small. Those are the brushes I used today. Now I'm gonna go through the rest of this. So in here, I have a lash tweezer. This is from Benefit. That's not really exciting. For bronzer, no longer available, but the Marc Jacobs giant ass bronzer brush is the best bronzer brush. It's huge. It gets all over the face. It is absolutely massive, and it is super soft. I adore this. This was actually given to me by a friend of mine who found it for like $5 at a TJ Maxx, and I am in love with it. So this does not leave rotation very often. But because it's not available, you don't see it a lot on camera. The next bronzer brush, which is a little bit more fluffy for when I want a more diffused look. This is the Rare Beauty bronzer brush. It is, when you compare it to the Sigma brush, it is about double the floofiness. So definitely great for diffusing blush. I also love using this with my translucent powder after I've done my face, just to kind of buff everything together. Not gonna spend too much time on this, but out of this month's BoxyCharm, the LYS Sculpt and Foundation Brush Duo for creams. Didn't use any cream products today. I stuck to powders, but I've been using these every time I do my makeup, again, with the exception of today. This is no longer available either. This is a Hakuhodo X Sephora collaboration from many years ago. This is the softest brush I own. I actually have 2 from this collection. There were 6 brushes. They were like 80 bucks a brush. They were very pricey. Hakuhodo is a very expensive brush brand, but when I was working at Sephora, they had already sold out of them, and then they found a few, and they put it on like a 50% off flash sale, which was $40. And then as an employee, I got a discount, so I think I paid like 15 bucks for this, and it is still one of my favorites. Because of that angle, I like to use this to press powder into my face, or when I want to just veil my skin. This is the blush and contour brush from Beauty For Real. Love this for contour. It just fits into the cheek perfectly. I've been using it for blush as well because I'm trying to, phase this out. I feel like every day we get news of something Morphe's done, and I did a whole video talking about Morphe. I'll link it up above. I'm not canceling them, but like, when this is dead and gone, I already have a backup, but I'm not going to be replacing it, so I would like to fall in love with a new brush of a similar shape, and this definitely has a little bit more of a fluffy brush, whereas this one is just a little bit more sparse, so they feel very similar. This has more bristles, but they're softer bristles. This has a little bit of a less soft bristle, but because there's less hair, it's a lot more, flexible. And on to the last of the eye brushes. This is the Il Makiage 194 Detail Blending Brush. I love this for a larger pencil brush for the under eye. I recently discovered for the crease, this is the Haley's, I don't see a number on here, but it is a domed top crease brush. Love these domed top crease brush. I also have one here from Sephora. This is the Sephora number 38 and the Delium Tools 785. Clearly this is a brush shape I like. All of these are a little bit different. This one's a little bit pointier, this one's a little bit more rounded, and this one's a little fluffier. So depending on the look that you want, or how precise you want or how blended out you want, you'll use a different one. And these two similar shapes are going to be your blending brushes, almost like a MAC 217 brush. This is the Delium 776, which is a regular size one, and the LaRousse LR110, which is a much smaller version for more precision. Last three brushes. This is from the Makeup Shack. This is the T14. It is a tiny little detail brush. Like on a day like today where I went a little more diffused, if I wanted to go day to night, I would take a super dark brown on this and I would trace the crease to give myself that cut crease effect. And then I would use the same brush to intensify the outer corner. This to me is like the perfect detail brush for that like day to night transition. I also have the Sigma E45, which is very similar. Difference is this is a little bit pointier and a little fluffier. So the other one's a little more when I want a sharper line. This works when I really just want to diffuse the crease a little bit more. Again, works beautifully for day to night. And lastly, it is the Transluce B121, tiny little pencil brush. I used the LaRousse one today, but I find myself going back and forth between the two, and I love the blue of these brushes, which is why I tend to keep it around. And I know that was a pretty fast roundup, but if you have any more specific questions, sound off down below. I would love to give you more information if you need it, but those are the brushes I keep on my desk and display at all times that I am regularly using day in and day out. Thank you so much. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!